Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I am Lillian. So today we'll be learning how to draft basic skirt, straight skirt and then pencil skirt, both in one pattern. Please, if you're here to subscribe, and endeavor to subscribe, turn on the notification bell. A lot will be coming up from this space. So the first thing we are going to do, at the top of our paper like this, we are going to come down by 2 inches. So come down by 2 inches like this. And then get your ruler, create a line. So when we are done doing that, the next thing we are going to do, we are going to label as our waistline. Label it as your waistline, and also here label as your center front. Okay, this is our front pattern. Step 2, from your waistline, come down by 9 inches like this. Then get your ruler, create a straight line. So when you're done, you're going to label it as your hip line. So after labeling as your hip line, step 3, we are going to measure our waist to knee. So whatever it is, from your waistline, you come down by that inches. My waist to knee is 24, so I'm going to come down by 24 inches. So measure your waist to knee, whatever it is, come down by that inches. Mine is 24, so I'm going to come down by 24, and then get my ruler, create my knee line. So I'm going to label as my knee. I'm going to label it as knee line. So after labeling as knee line, the next thing we're going to do, we're going to impute our dart on the waistline. So in order to do that, measure your nipple to nipple, then divide it by 2. So mine is 8, so whatever yours is, divide it by 2. 8 divided by 2 is 4. So I'm going to go on my waistline now, impute 4 inches. Then from that point, come down by 5 inches. Okay? So from that point, come down by 5 inches like this. Then I'm going to use my ruler, then connect it as a straight line like this. Okay, so when you are done doing that, the next thing you're going to do, on this dart leg, we are going to come out by ½ inch. Then on the other side, go out by ½ inch, and then connect it back to that 5 inches point like this. So connect it like this. Connect the other one like this also. So when you are done doing this, the next thing we are going to do, on our waistline, we are going to take our round waist circumference. Okay, measure your round waist. So whatever it is, divide it by 4. So after dividing by 4, mine is 7. So I'm going to go in from the center front by 7 inches like this. So after going in by 7 inches, remember this that we added, we are going to sew it off. So this is already 1 inch, so we need to make up for it. So what we are going to do now, we are going to add extra 1 inch for this dart intake, and then add additional 1 inch as our sewing allowance. That is to the waist. We are adding extra 2 inches to the waist. So the next thing we are going to do, this place will already label as our waistline and center front. From that point, we are going to come down by 1 inches like this. Okay, after coming down by 1 inch, so you are going to connect it back to the measurement you already have at the waistline like this. Okay, so when you are done connecting, the next thing we are going to do, we are going to divide our round hip circumference by 4. So whatever yours is, divided by 4, then come down to your hip line and then impute it. So mine is 9.5 after dividing by 4. I'm going to go in by that 9.5 like this, and then add extra 1 inch as my sewing allowance like this. So the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to connect both lines together like this to my waistline. And then connect the second line also back to my waistline like this. After doing that, the next thing we are going to do, we are going to bring our hip circumference back to the knee line. Okay, so whatever you measure on your hip line, bring it down to your knee line. Mine is 9.5, so I'm going to bring it down and then add extra 1 inch as my sewing allowance. I'm going to connect it back like this, and then connect the allowance to the allowance also like this. Okay, so when you are done doing this, this is it for straight skirt. So if you want to make a straight skirt, this is what a straight skirt is. But if you want pencil skirt, all you need to do, from this point, you are going to go in by 1.5 inches. That is for pencil skirt. So what we are going to do now, from this point, we are going to go in by 1.5 inches. So this is it, 1.5 inch, and then we are going to connect it back to our hip line like this. Okay, so when you're done connecting, this is your pencil skirt. This red line is your pencil skirt. So these are our pencil skirt, and then this normal line is our normal skirt. That is your normal straight skirt line. Okay, so the next thing we are going to do now, before cutting out, I'll show us how to cut out, but before doing that, let's go ahead and then create our back pattern. So guys, for the back pattern, we are going to come down from the top of our paper also by 2 inches, just like we did on the front pattern. So come down by 2 inches like this. So when you're done, get your ruler, create a line, and then label as your waistline. Okay, label as your waistline, and also label this place as your center back. Remember, these are back pattern, so you're going to label as center back. Okay, so from this point, you are going to go inward by 1.5 inch. So we'll be needing that for our zip allowance. So just go in by 1.5 inch. So when you're done with that, you're going to roll across like this to create a line. So when you're done doing that, the next thing we are going to do from our waistline, now we are going to come down by 9 inches, just like we did on the front pattern. So come down by 9 inches like this. This is our waistline now, so we are going to come down by 9 inches like this. So do the same thing, come down by 9 inches, and then create a hip line. So I'm going to label it now as my hip line. So do the same thing, label it as your hip line, and then measure your waist to knee. Take your waist to knee measurement also. Mine is 24, so I'm going to measure 24 downward from my waistline. So do the same thing to yours. Measure 24 inches downward like this, and then create your knee line. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead now label as my knee line. So when we are done with this, the next thing we are going to do, we are going to impute our dart measurement, just like we did for the front. We are going to divide your nipple to nipple point by 2. So mine is 8 divided by 2, which is 4. So I'm going to go in now from this line by 4 inch. Okay, so I'm going to come down from that point by 6 inch. Remember the front was 5, so the back come down by 6 inch, and then just take your ruler, create a straight line like this. Okay, so when you're done with that, just like we did for the front, you're going to go out by 1/2 inch, and then on the other side by 1/2 inches, 1/2 inch, and then connect it back like this. Okay, so when you're done doing this, the next thing you're going to do, you're going to get around waist circumference divided by 4. So whatever it is, mine is 7, so I'm going to go in by 7. So whatever yours is, do the same thing, go in by that inch, and then just like we did before for the front, we are going to add 1 inch for that intake and 1 inch as our sewing allowance. Okay, so when you're done with that, go back to your hip, measure your round hip circumference, then divide it by 4. Mine is 9.5, so I'm going to go in from this line by 9.5 inches, and then I'm going to add 1 inch as my sewing allowance. Then I'm going to connect it like this from the hip to the waist. Then also do the same thing for the second one like this. Okay, so when you're done with this, the next thing we are going to do, we are going to go to our knee line. We are going to bring down our hip measurement also down to the knee line, 9.5. Then I'm going to add extra 1 inch as my sewing allowance, just like we did before. So connect it. So I'm just going to connect it back to the hip line like this, then connect the second one like this. So this is our normal skirt pattern. So in order to create your pattern for pencil skirt, just go in by 1.5 inches like this, and then connect it back to the hip line like this. Okay, so when you're done doing this, also label just like we did before. This is your pencil skirt. Also label as your pencil, and this one is your normal skirt. Okay, so the next thing we are going to do, we are going to impute our zip allowance. So to do that, from this 1 inch, remember we left out 1.5 inch here, so just go out by 1 inch like this, and then create the line. Okay, so when you're done, just extend your knee line to that point, and then this will serve as our zip allowance. So the next thing you're going to do, if you want to cut out now, before cutting out, all you need to do is to add 1/2 inch here as a sewing allowance, and then connect the line like this. So this is now our sewing allowance. Okay, so if you want to add, so connect it also, just blend it in like this. So if you want to add allowance, remember this is our normal skirt, okay, and this is the sewing allowance. So if you want to add sewing allowance for the pencil skirt, all you need to do, from this 1.5 inch we went in with, all you need to do now is to go add by 1 inch. Okay, that is if you want to add your pencil skirt allowance, just from this red line, go add by 1 inch. Okay, just go add by 1 inch like, and then blend it to your hip line. So I'm just going to make this a broken line like this, so you'll be seeing it clearly. Okay, what I did from my 1.5 inch, from the 1.5 inch I went in with, I just came out by 1 inch to add allowance for my pencil skirt. Okay, so this is it for the pencil skirt. So if I want to cut out for my pencil skirt, I'm just going to go over and then cut out this broken line. Then if I want to sew a normal straight skirt, I'm going to go ahead and then cut out from this green line. So all we want to do now, you are going to add sewing allowance also for the down, so, and then connect it like this. So guys, this is it for the back pattern. Okay, so if you want to cut out now, depends on what you're sewing. If you're sewing straight skirt, like I said, just go ahead, cut out your zip allowance, then cut out the full pattern like this. But if you know you are sewing pencil skirts, all you need to do from this point, let me mark it also like this. So from this point, you're just going to go ahead and cut out from this broken line like this straight to your waistline. So when you are done with the back, the next thing we are going to do, we are going to come back to the front pattern. So these are front pattern. Remember we came down by 1 inch from our waistline. So what we are going to do now, if you are sewing just normal skirt, you know that you are sewing just skirt, you are not attaching bodies to it. This is the line we are going to use. You are going to use this 1 inch we came down with. So all you need to do is to add 1/2 inch as your sewing allowance like this. Okay, so you are using this 1 inch we came down with as your waistline if you are sewing just skirts. You are not adding bodies to it, you are not adding your normal bodies to it. So use this 1 inch we came down with. Okay, so I'm just going to connect it like this. So you are only using this if you are not attaching your basic bodies to it, and if you are attaching your basic bodies to it, you are going to use this normal waistline. Okay, if you are not attaching anything, use this 1 inch we came down with, just add 1/2 inch as your sewing allowance. But if you are attaching basic bodies to it, use this normal waistline. So from that waistline, just go out by 1/2 inch. So I'm actually using another marker so that you understand what I'm doing. So this line is what you are going to use if you are attaching basic bodies. If you are attaching your normal bodies, whatever you are attaching, as long as you are attaching something, this is the normal line we are going to use. So let me label it as bodies so that you understand what I'm saying. So this one I label bodies is what you are going to use if you are attaching anything to your skirt. Okay, but this normal line, if you are just sewing just skirt and you are adding just band, this is the line we are going to use. You are going to use this red line. So let me label it as normal skirts so that you understand what I'm saying. We are going to come down. If you are adding allowance for your pencil skirt, just from this point go out by 1 inch. Then you're just going to go ahead and then create a broken line like this. So this is it. This is our front pattern, and then this is our back pattern. Okay, so guys, we are going to go ahead now and cut out. So for cutting out, all you need to do is cut out from the allowance you added like this. So like I said, if you are cutting out for pencil skirt, you are going to go ahead and then cut out from this red line down to the hip like this. But if you are cutting for normal skirt, normal straight skirt, just go ahead and then cut out at this point. Okay, so this is it. If you are cutting for normal skirt, you are cutting for normal straight skirt, this is where you are going to cut out. So when you come to your zip allowance, also cut out these excesses we have here. Okay, so this is it for normal straight skirt. But if you are cutting for pencil skirt, all you need to do is to cut out from this point, and this is it for your pencil skirt. Okay, so what you have left is your pencil skirt. So this will not be your allowance. So this will not be your allowance for pencil skirt. Okay, so let's go ahead and then cut out the front pattern. Okay, so let's cut out the fronts also. So if you're sewing and you know you want to attach your basic bodice to it, you are going to attach bodice to it, just go ahead and cut out this from this 1/2 inch point that we added to our normal waistline. Okay, this is if you are adding bodice to it, so just cut out from there, and then from this point do the same thing, cut out like this. So if you know you are sewing your skirt, you are not attaching anything to it, you are going to cut out from this 1/2 inch we added at the 1 inch we came down with. So all you need to do from that point, just cut out like this. Okay, we did for the back. This is for the normal skirt. If you are sewing pencil skirt, so just cut out from this broken line like this. Okay, so this is it if you are sewing pencil skirt, and this will be your allowance for the pencil skirt. So thank you very much for watching. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel.